everybody. Welcome to This Week in Indies for March 14th. Nice to see you. We've got a great show for you ahead, including what we're going to show you right now, a nice little book review, and then we'll be back with the roundtable to discuss emptiness, basically. But we'll be back with that. You'll see what I mean.
Hey everyone, Rebekah Jonesy here, and today I am bringing you an indie book review. Today I want to tell you about Mother's Love by Robert Cano. Nuclear holocaust decimated the world sometime after 2027. The exact year and reason are unknown, for history was erased in that moment. Only echoes and remnants remain. The first chance she gets, Cammy leaves Xavier Tech, the company that raised her and forced her to become a living weapon. For the outside, where the survivors of humanity fight to eke out an existence. It was there Cammy discovered the horrors of life, but she also discovered a freedom which allowed her to choose. But now there is a shadow haunting Cammy, a shadow from her past, a woman who is only known as Mother. No one knows who Mother is, where she came from, where she is, who she works for, or what she wants. She simply leaves her discarded toys, broken in mind and body, as her legend grows. One thing everyone can agree on, nothing happens without her knowledge or direct involvement. And she wants Cammy brought to her alive. Now, in this book, first of all, it is dark. It is gruesome. It is horrible. It is a fight for survival of the fittest, and the fittest doesn't just mean the strongest. You have to be fit in mind and body. And when you're living in a world where all the resources are scarce and every day is a fight for survival, not a lot of people measure up to that. Now, Cammy is one of the best because, as the blurb told you, she was raised by Xavier Tech. She was picked of good genetic stock. They made her. And as you find out in the book, they also modified her. So Cammy is very smart. She is a genius when it comes to working with the nanotech that she developed. She knows how to use that to her best advantage, and she knows how to dodge Xavier Tech, because even in a world where water is so hard to come by, one of the biggest threats to humanity is still humanity. The people of Xavier Tech see everyone else as the other, not just beneath them, but just something to kick out of their way as they continue to advance and move forward with their hidden agenda. So you definitely want to read this book. Like I said, I do warn you, it is dark, which I like. It's kind of gruesome, and it deals with some of the worst sides of humanity all at the same time. But it is, in its essence, it is a fight for freedom. And the legend of Mother is so creepy, and what she does to people is so horrible. She is brutal. But the fun of this book is also, like, you don't even know if Mother is real. Maybe that's just a name someone gave. Just something that they made up to talk about the atrocities that Xavier Tech inflicts on the people who live around the company, in the crumbling remnants of the city. I don't want to give away too much, obviously, but you definitely want to go read this book. If you like, storylines like Mad Max, you will definitely love this. Just go get it. I mean, it's, like I said, be prepared. It is gruesome. It is horrible. It wrenches at your heart. All the different things that she is forced to do to stay alive and keep herself complete when everyone around her can't really be trusted. Because, well, that's just not something Kimmy does. It's not really something any of them do, Again, it's a fight for survival, and, the fittest gets the rewards. So go check this out, and you will understand why I harassed Robert Cano for several years in order to get this book published. Because I read it as a super rough draft years ago and harassed him for years to get it out. And now it's finally here. You guys can thank me later. It's okay. But go get this now, and trust me, you will enjoy it if you like the dark.
All right. Well, such a good book and a great review. And Mother's Love is darkly terrifying. And so was that bad edit at the end. Holy crap. I'm sorry about that, everybody. The little glitches there. I'm using a new software, so you'll have to bear with me. There may be a couple of glitches every now and again, but it was about time I upgraded. Anyway, enough of me. Welcome to the roundtable discussion for this week. I've got a great group of people, as you can see ahead of me here, and with me. And I sent an article out that was, two of the folks here are local to that area a little bit, but that wasn't the reason why I sent it out. But it just happened. It was good happenstance that happened. But it was just this interesting thing, and I think it's the worst titled article I've ever read, with considering the subject matter it was covering. But that being said, it was about a group that was getting together in Washington, D.C. that was trying to, raise awareness for indie bookstores and for in-person events. And so I thought we could discuss that, because I have a little bit of some stats and some things that I collected that I was supposed to do for the news program that we do, but I forgot to do it. So I didn't, so we'll do it here. But before we do all of that, let's have everybody introduce themselves. I'll just go down the line here. So Nikki, start us off.
Oh, hi, I'm Nikki Hicks. I write a lot of weird fiction. Currently, the latest thing out is Stone Baby. It's just an anthology of short horror stories. I have a bunch of other stuff: pulp noir, science fiction, steampunk, just regular literature, whatever you're looking for. And that's what I have right now. I'm currently working on a book that's set in 1908 Appalachia, so I am like down a huge rabbit hole dealing with the death folklore of that area, and it is rich. Those people really like their death, so I'm having a good time because I'm a huge research nerd. So I'm having a good time researching it and hoping I don't get too far down the hole.
Boy, we're off to a good start. A lot of darkness this morning.
Darkness.
Stone Baby is a great name for a book. That's super terrifying. And also, I'm from Appalachia, and my grandmother adored ghost stories.
Yes.
And if you want creepy stuff in the back hollers, West Virginia, Tennessee. That's the place.
I have so many friends who are historians, and they've been contacting me and telling me, get this book, get this book, get this book. And I now have about 12 books over here that I am still funneling into. And it's all dealing with the legends and the ghost stories and all the weird things that happen that people believe. I mean, this is a part of their lifestyle, especially when you get into the hex works of the Dutch Pennsylvania, which isn't Appalachia, but still the hex working.
Yes.
Fascinating. It's absolutely fascinating.
ERIK got me a great book last Christmas that I've been reading since I was a little kid, and it's called The Telltale Lilac Bush. I highly recommend it. It's a compilation of ghost stories told by a college professor's students in Fairmont, West Virginia. And she took all their stories and put them all together, so they're legit. They're
Okay,
like from the source. It's
I'm gonna
good
find
stuff.
that book. Okay.
And by the way, Megan, just so you know, when Nikki actually like says she is consciously writing down the name of a book, she will buy the book that day and then read it the minute it arrives.
Oh well. Oh, it's true. I did. I do.
I experienced this firsthand, so this is a reliable.
I have no life, so yes, this is what I do. This is where I live. It's a little bitty nest. So
nice. All right. Well,
sorry, I
terrible
derailed the
segue. The no
introduction.
life thing's a terrible segue, but here's I know she has a great life, and that's Miss AJ Mulliken.
Hi, everybody. I'm AJ Mulliken. I write dystopian sci-fi, paranormal romance, a little reverse harem mixed in there, menage, all the fun things. And I have some dark stuff too. I have the Abnormal series. That's a lot of really darkness in regards to how society might be if the upper class took over and decided they did not want the lower classes to have any powers, abilities, or even political power. So it's great to be here.
Nice to have you. Thank you for being here. All right, Megan.
Hi, I am Megan Morgan. I am the author of The Altered Wake. I mostly write sci-fi. I never write anything scary intentionally, but sometimes by accident. Yeah. And I am currently deep in edits on my second book in the Sentinel series.
So is your Blinkman story a nice story then about Blinkman?
If you haven't read it, it's probably one of the gentler ones in the book, I guess.
All right. Fair enough.
Except for the one that is like a 10 to 12 page criticism on a fictionalized version of me that essentially accuses me of being duplicitous and manipulative of cast and crew and things like that. So that was creepy for me to read.
You asked me to write it that way. It
just felt like it came from a really genuine place, and that fact alone.
That's just her talent, just the talent.
Boy, we not only are we getting dark, but we're getting therapy dark right now. All right, Eric, why don't you introduce yourself?
Eric Christopher Myers. I have directed some reasonably creepy movies, and I've written for some reasonably creepy books, and I've written about reasonably creepy films for Cool News. I'm trying to get yet another reasonably creepy film finished shooting right now, and another one off the ground. And the creepiest thing I guess I've done today is have a very, very, very intense negative outlook on daylight savings time.
Yes.
Apart from that, I'd like to think I'm reasonably well adjusted.
I forget, I'm paraphrasing, but a friend of mine posted on Facebook this yesterday, don't forget to turn back your clocks because time doesn't exist. But Rebekah says the back hollers are truly terrifying places for so many reasons. Yeah, she's got a background in that too. If you wanted to pick somebody's brain, Rebekah's a good source for that.
I'm from East Nashville. I'm basically a city girl. So I have some friends and family who live in the country, but not like Appalachia country. This is just country.
Plus, that quote makes for an awesome dirty euphemism.
It does.
You had to do that, right? You just opened Pandora's box, right?
And that makes for yet another nasty, dirty euphemism.
She can turn anything into it, so it was bound to happen, But that being said, so in reading this article, what was interesting to me was I had just talked to a fair amount of exhibitors, organizers, not just of book festivals or book conferences or Comic-Cons. I ran the gamut, film festival organizers as well, and I also talked to a couple music festival organizers. Some things have changed a little bit. I've read now that the Austin Film Festival has decided that they're going to do their thing live in October because they believe, obviously Texas is wide open, although South by Southwest stayed virtual this year, which was interesting, or a good portion of it was virtual. I'm sure 6th Street and 5th Street had some live concerts that were probably organized just on the fly, but it's so the outlook is bleak in most of their eyes. They all are what they're trying. A lot of people have done is they've decided to move things to the fall in hopes, and they're really hoping. And they have a backup virtual plan. A few of them who are in August, including Dragon Con and a couple other big ones, are trying to do kind of the hybrid thing a little bit. They might open up a track or two or a hall or something to that effect, but they're really looking at staying virtual as well. Something has happened throughout the entire year, which this article highlights, is the idea that we've done a good job of supporting the indie community as comic book creators. Comic book stores have been really the indie comic community rallied around comic book stores to keep a lot of them open and going. Bookstores as well, not so much bookstores, but there was a little bit in certain areas and cry. And this is an article that reflects on that a little bit. And then movie theaters have just died, but they're coming back in a little bit. I know my town is allowing 10% occupancy, which doesn't make any sense to me. But that being said, I mean, normal is, whatever it's going to be. But when you hear something like that, the bleakness of it, I mean, we're all clamoring at this point to either get out and make some sales and do some things that way, or attend some events, attend anything that's live. But it doesn't look very promising, even in Texas, which is the one place where it's wide open right now. I think Florida's kind of wide open as well, but they're not doing events either, other than sporting events. So it's kind of there. It's just weird to me that I don't know. I want to know how you guys feel about what you're experiencing, and do you feel like there's a turning point? Do you feel like things are starting to get a little bit more optimistic? Do you feel like the call of fall might be what you're aiming at, or do you feel like you're just gonna shove this year off and go for 2022 and hope for the best there?
I mean, I think that there is at least some feeling of optimism. I know, like, I've been in the office working since the very beginning, and a lot of my office mates here in Maryland are starting to get the vaccine, and I think that is really promising. And it's definitely it's not a great situation, and it's probably going to continue to not be a great situation for at least 6 months to a year. And I think that it is a huge struggle not being able to do in-person events, especially as an indie writer. That's where I make the vast majority of my sales, and I think that's true for a lot of us, and that's something that we've talked about a lot. And doing online virtual events, there are, as the article said, there are some really, really great benefits to that, but there are some huge downsides. The benefits are that people can get out and hear about you who would normally not be able to. This has opened access for people who don't have the money to travel to certain places. It's opened access for people with disabilities that prevent them from going, or that make it difficult for them to go out into the world on a regular basis. There are, there's also, now you can reach an audience that maybe you couldn't before. And of course, the problem with all of that is that everyone now is like online and doing everything online. And so it's really easy to get lost in the noise. And, I think that a lot of absolutely nothing about a Zoom call can replace an in-person interaction. Yeah. It's a great substitute. considering the circumstances that we're under. But it just, you know, you're not going to have the same level of connection and interaction. That said, I think we're getting there. And that, all things considered, that makes me happy and hopeful because, you know, it's miraculous that we have a vaccine already that is being distributed and that people are getting. And so, yeah, I feel really good about that. I have a book probably coming out in the fall, as long as I can get all the crazy editing done. But, you know, maybe I'll be able to have an in-person event. But even if I don't, it'll be out there. And then whatever the next book is that comes out, I'll almost certainly be able to do something in person, like knock on wood, who knows. And that book will still be there. And so, you know, it's not like a total loss. And I know that ERIK, for example, has been doing some unique, weird projects that he probably wouldn't have done if all of this hadn't happened.
Sure.
So yeah, it's, you know, it's one of those things where it's like, there are definitely like pluses to it. And I think we need to keep the online component. I think we've discovered that that's really important for a lot of people as far as access. But like, yes, I'm very much looking forward to getting back to in-person stuff as soon as it is safe to do so.
Nice.
Because there's no substitute for it.
Yeah, the online thing that you mentioned at the end there, that was a great point. That's really important because that's something that they all mentioned, that there will be incorporating some sort of virtual, if not an event kind of thing, maybe like a recapping, like, you know, best of weekend kind of thing that they've talked about. That's something that was brought up a couple times from people.
I think we've discovered there's no excuse at this point for not doing it.
Yeah.
We've had the ability to bring that kind of access to people for a long time. We just sort of been like, no, we can't do that. This forced us to do that. Now we have the systems there, and we need to keep using that kind of thing. Yeah.
And a lot of them have said because it's cheap to do. It's not that expensive.
No, and it never was.
To pay for the
expensive.
Zoom is not that expensive. So.
Yeah. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I didn't do a lot of in-person events before the pandemic just because of cost. Like Tucson Comic-Con, I went there one year when my book first came out, when Abnormal first came out, and I went there and I didn't make. I mean, I sold a lot of what I brought, which for an unknown nobody author who nobody at Tucson, aside from a few handful of friends, knew even I was there. Aside from, you know, for that, I did well. But between the cost of the booth, the cost of the trip up there, even though we stayed with friends, the cost of, you know, eating while you're there and everything, you know, it got to be where it wasn't worth it. I know there are cons in my area, little mini cons that have happened that have been a little less cost prohibitive, but it's really hard if you don't have the funds to go out and do the things. I find that it's actually been more beneficial to me to have this online sense of community with the indie authors and the indie readers, and be able to do the Zoom things, do these StreamYards, these things here, do webcast, podcast, and get your words out there that way. And it's a lot cheaper than going to an in-person event. You don't have the gas mileage, you don't have the hotel stay, you don't have the booth rental, you know, et cetera, et cetera. I find it better in some ways, although I know I would sell more volume at a time if I did live in-person events. But this, for me, I mean, I was kind of a baby author when the pandemic hit. You know, I only had a book out for like a year and a half at the time. So this is more like, I'm more accustomed to this. I've been in this almost as long as I've been in the live, you know, time, not live frame. So for me, it's like I'm getting just used to this as I was to that, because this is, you know, this has happened almost as long by now.
Speaking of getting used to, I saw you post a video on TikTok, Nikki, about how you went to work in your sweats. And you were like, why can't I do this all the time, right?
All the time, yes. Jesus, it was, yeah. Well,
So-
for me here in Tennessee, our biggest thing is the Southern Festival of Books, and I've been doing that since like 2006. So every year, when I was with the National Writers Group, we would have a booth, and we would take turns running it and things like that. And then one year, a friend of mine, me and Ellen Lewis, actually got our own booth, and it was fun. It was great. Of course, that was the year that they changed a lot of things, and all of us indie authors were put like on this side road. We weren't on the main drag, and we were very pissed off. But I was very happy in that I broke even. I just go to break even, because like what she said, going to cons, you don't break even. It's not fiscally responsible when you consider how much it costs to get there, how much the booth, all that blah blah blah. But it is great to meet people. That's the fun part of it, going to cons. And the thing that I miss most about, say, going to the cons, going to Southern Festival of Books or to the Hermitage Book Festival, I miss being out with people and meeting new people. That's what, for me, also other authors that I happen to know via either Twitter or Facebook, and they come here and we get to meet in real life. And that's kind of fun. I miss that. And as for 2021, I'm just writing it off. I've been invited to do some things, but I said no, because we're still in a pandemic and I have not gotten the shots yet. So I'm waiting till 2022.
All right. Fair enough. How about for you, Eric? As a fan of physical media, I would assume that cons and things like that are very important to you.
Well, I mean, my experience is obviously going to be different from everyone else's here, since I did not make the tragic mistake of being an author rather than a filmmaker. Oh, come on. I'm only half kidding. But no, seriously, like cons are fun, but I don't really feel like, for me as a filmmaker, that's a place where I make either much in the way of sales or interaction. And maybe I'm doing it wrong. I don't know. I've always gone just for the fun of it, or doing free comic book day or something like that. But I land in that window of, when the film has not yet had a wide release, but is currently doing the film festival circuit, and that buzz that happens there over that stretch of days, and the interaction that you're having with people is, in a way, very passionate, because everyone is there trying to sort of be noticed at the festival, and to be a darling. And that's sort of what gets you the press coverage. That's what gets you the early buzz and the early reviews that you use to not only negotiate your sale, but also, having that built-in marketing, in the form of reviews and things like that, on an indie level, we have to pay for our own PR. We don't tend to have studios taking care of that for us. So that window is convenient for me, in the sense that I don't have anything right now. My last film is from 2018, so it's out there, and the business I'm sort of doing is interacting with people in Facebook groups, engaging with people who have found the film on Prime or Tubi or wherever else they've looked. But I feel terrible for anybody who is with a new film that they are trying to have its thumbprint left on the festival community during a time where it is great that there are online screeners and that online access, but it's that meet and greet quality. It's those after parties,
the after party.
and before parties. Those are things that are the important part of those sorts of events.
Yeah, I mean, networking is huge. And that,
Yes.
and Rebecca says you don't have the bar tab either.
Oh, true.
But still, I mean, even if you go, you don't have to drink. You can just go and hang out with people. I mean, it's weird, but you can. But it's so important. Like, I was just thinking when I going through Slamdance, and Slamdance did an amazing job. They took all their filmmakers every night. And so they had a specific thing they were promoting that day, like documentary features. So they got all the documentary feature people together, and they watched screeners together, and they did a promotion that was behind the scenes. That was not something that they publicized, so nobody could watch what they were doing. But if they were trying to still give that sense of the film festival and what was so popular about this festival. Because for people who don't know, Slam Dance is one hallway. It's basically a hallway and two rooms where you watch films, and there's a room where they have panels, and then it's a party room, and that's it. That's Slam Dance, and it's literally one hall. People are jam packed all weekend long, all week long, basically through that thing, and it's amazing because you are forced to talk to people. I mean, it's you can't help it. You're going to run into somebody and you're going to talk to them, and there's a lot of networking that goes on in that thing. I mean, I talk to hundreds of people that whole entire week, so and that's not just me doing interviews. I'm talking just sitting around. And, when I'm charging my phone, or I'm waiting for the next interview, or I'm waiting for the next panel or the next movie, you stand in line, and the line is literally against the wall, and you're kind of shoulder to shoulder. You have no choice. You got to get to know. You're going to get to know that person, right? And so it's just one of those things. And I missed that tremendously this year. That was something that I really didn't feel this year.
I could be wrong about this, Joe. I don't want to cut you off, but I really would love to know your thought on the difference sort of between the energy at a con and the energy at a film festival. Because at a con, it's really about browsing, shopping, the excitement is about obtaining sort of physical stuff. And at film festivals, it's sort of like everybody is, on vicarious creative cocaine. Everyone's just real spun up and handsy and touchy and huggy and talky and there's that passion I'm talking about, because everyone's there sort of on the cusp of something very important to them, creatively, financially, whatever that might be.
Absolutely, and that's very true. I think that's very much how it is. Although when I go to con and I'm doing, I'm walking the media floors, or I'm walking the sales floors, or the event halls, whatever they call them. I'm a different animal. I'm going and talking to people. If I notice that they're an indie artist, I'm going to go and talk to them. I'm going to talk to them. And they'll do their sales pitch to me and everything like that. But they'll end up talking to me, and that's how I met Bobby Nash at Dragon Con. Me and JD walked up to his booth and we started talking, and we talked for probably about 40 minutes. I mean, so it's just one of those things. But that's me. But people are there. People are there to buy stuff. People are there to see the costumes and the pageantry of Dragon Con. Dragon Con's this big pageant. Huge. It's totally different. The panels are like secondary thought processes to what.
Well, it's so hard to get into the panels.
Yeah,
you have to plan from when you buy your tickets for the panels, because if you're not there first in line or something, you're out 3 blocks down hoping you get in. Because I've been to Dragon Con about 4.5 years ago, and it was fun. But compared to
it's
Phoenix
crazy.
Comic Con, it is insane.
And that's a whole different animal than anything else. Dragon Con is its whole different
Its
thing.
own.
Yeah, it's not even the lexicon of what we're talking about with cons. Usually cons are one big event hallway, and you go through. You just go through aisle after aisle after aisle.
It's not like 5 city blocks of.
Yeah. So, I mean, even San Diego is just basically 2 buildings, but it's 2 large, huge buildings that have many, many stories. But it's very much that way. And at the cons where you do what you're doing at the film festivals is in the bar. It's at night after all the panels are done and everybody has to shut down in the event hall. They have the hotels there that have the bars and everybody's in there. So that's when you do the networking. So you can still do a little bit of what you do at film festival, but film festival is nonstop networking. It's always talking. You're always talking about film, right? So it's like you're constantly just talking about, oh my God, that camera, all that stuff. It's just, it's amazing. It's an energy, like you said, Eric, that just feels like you're always on. And it's crazy.
It's exhausting.
It's very exhausting. Yeah.
When I work at con, I rarely ever leave my little booth. I'm too busy, shilling out the stuff and giving out the spiel, and then doing panels. And yes, afterwards, having to go and then put on the face in the after parties is exhausting. I usually take 2 or 3 days off after a con just to recoup my humanity. because I am not good. I can feel when I've hit my social. I'm done. I am done with social peoples. I can't do the social thing anymore. I can feel it, and I get bad. I'm not a good person to be around. So, and it's hard to tell a book when you're like, just get it from me. I hate all human beings. So yeah, no. I don't miss that part. I don't miss that part at all. No.
I feel you. But if you do want the film festival experience, there is a way as a novelist.
I want to try that. I've not done a film festival yet. Although the closest I've ever done is the 48-hour film thing, and that's fun. But it's nothing
that's
like
a whole other beast on top of
that's
everything
just
else, too.
it's nothing. That's kindergarten work. What you guys do.
Yeah.
So
well, no, I mean there's some merit to it, but it's not,
fun and it's hard. I mean, you meet on one day, and it's the group that I work with. I'm the screenwriter, and we get together and we have to figure out. We pull out the whiskey. Okay, what are we writing? So yeah, it's fun, but it's nothing like you guys do.
Well, I was going to say, if you're a novelist and you're looking for the film festival experience, go to a writer's conference. That's where you'll get that experience.
I go to Nikon usually, and this has been postponed twice now. Now the next one's going to be in 2022, and Nikon's fun. But again, I find it's very much like the very first Nikon I ever did felt like high school. I felt like I was back in high school lunchroom cafeteria, and the cool kids are way over there, and I'm over here with the people who smell kind of weird. And it was hard to get in. I'm still not into that echelon. I'm still just kind of.
Dragon Con's very much like that. Dragon Con is the Star Wars people are over here, the Star Trek people are over here, and if peanut butter and chocolate got together, it does not make a Reese's peanut butter cup. It makes a big mess.
Well, I found with Nikon, it's with the HWA, the Horror Writers Association. There's a big echelon of societal things, and you got to know the right person and kiss the right person's ass to get to this part. And I'm not good at that. So.
Yeah. That's almost every festival though. There's a lot of that.
I'm not good at it. So I usually just go get a drink and hang out with people and then go back to my bedroom. And when I get really full, go back to my room.
The Dragon Con experience as you're describing it sounds like the worst of toxic fandom.
Yeah, a lot of it is.
Being somebody who has written a number of hot takes on, large scale popular franchises, I've seen the way toxic fandom can try to bite back, and at least being a writer sitting behind a screen, I'm able to say, okay, well, I'm putting my voice out there, and you control the comment section all you want, but you don't have the platform to sort of spew your bile, which is why I need to stay away from certain conventions where it's going to be like the pocket protector battles in the middle of the fucking floor. If, the greasers and the socias should, cross their fucking streams of Star Wars versus Star Trek. And if The Last Jedi is, something that isn't part of a fucking, agenda to force women and people of color onto, people who inexplicably feel their white privilege is under attack. I mean, I just find that a lot of those sorts of gatherings make me hate the thing I love. And so I sort of am very careful about what sort of conventions I go to.
What sucks about that is those are the loudest people. So
they're just
even though they're a small group, and they are a small group, this is a Dragon Con for the most part is a lot of love, and there's a lot of people that gather for the right reasons and talk about things that are important. There's a lot of panels on diversities and things like that, and how we get more diversity in inclusion in writing and film and everything. And so they do a lot of good things, but it gets lost because there's the 10 people who just are so loud and obnoxious about their points, and it just poisons the whole aspect of it.
And so, not to hijack this sort of conversation, but I think the worst example that we are seeing right now is the successful Release the Snyder Cut campaign. And we are seeing the way the toxic fandom has sort of put its hand around the throat of the movie studio, and said, Warner Brothers, you give us this movie or else we're going to stop watching and we're going to boycott all of your shitty superhero movies that nobody should be wanting to watch anyway, because DC comic book films are fucking garbage across the board. But the idea of anyone who is, I'm just going to speak to your audience right now. I've tried to say this in a number of think pieces. I've tried to say this to people in person. I'm now coming to you and looking into your eyes as I say this. Movie studios do not shelve good movies. That is bad business. It's even worse business to shelve a good movie after spending tens of millions of dollars on it and then spending that same money again to create a shitty version of what was good, and then spending all the money to get it into your movie theater and on TV with commercials and banners that pop up on websites. The sheer amount of money. Nobody shelves good movies, and there are no lost masterpieces in the form of the first cut of Rogue One, or of Solo, a Star Wars story, or of Justice League Dawn of, or whatever the fuck the movie is called. There is no great lost masterpiece, as you know, we learned when we finally got to see The Exorcist 3. These holy grails are interesting because of what we imagine they are, but they are probably pieces of shit that the studios realized you would not pay for and that you would complain about. And so that's why they tried to make a blander, safer, more generic version of something that might be perhaps more challenging because it is unfiltered, because Zack Snyder is a filmmaker who brings in all of his, you know, Ayn Randian theories of shit and tries to impose them on, you know, Boy Scouts who fly. But nonetheless, it might be more interesting. It's just going to be a more interesting piece of shit that's 4 hours long.
Oh my God.
So if I'm wrong, please feel free to reach out to me on Twitter at EKMYERS or on Facebook and tell me I'm wrong. But I won't be. Because I'm not.
Well, there are two things that I wanted to mention about this idea in talking to these organizers and stuff like that. And one of them has already been mentioned and probably not going to make a lot of people happy. But the one thing that they did say is if they were going to put on online event, or they were going to put on events, that two things that they're looking at. One is how much more money it's going to cost them to you know, get back into this kind of flow of things, and thus they're going to put the cost on the vendor. So you're going to probably be paying more for those first few events if you decide to go. The good news is that you'll have exclusivity because they're only going to allow a certain amount of people to be vendors. So they're going to reach out to obviously the people that have always been there and done it a few times over first. But if those people balk, then they're going to open it up. But so there's that. And then the other thing that they mentioned is that the one thing about online that they like, yes, it is capturing a worldwide audience and growing them widely. But the idea to, you know, they watched San Diego try to monetize it and fail miserably at that idea when other people were offering stuff for free that is equal to what San Diego was offering. San Diego just banked on the fact that they could bring as many A-list or B-list celebrities as they possibly could find, and you would pay for that, which they were vastly wrong about. But there is the talk of how can we give value for the dollar amount that we need to charge to make this right. So that's the idea behind it. So they are looking for content. They are looking for people. But the online thing is only going to be a part of what they're doing. So you're going to probably have to make a decision on which way you want to go. Do you want to be the online person or do you want to be the in-person person? Because right now that's going to be the difference makers. You know, that's the difference, you know, so weighing in on, you know, that idea, it doesn't it makes it even more bleak, right? I'm sorry. Like I said, today's going to be a dark day, everybody. But I'm just curious what your thoughts are on those, what they were saying, and that is a vast majority of them. So.
You know, there's a reason why, I don't know if you had heard this, but the newest stimulus package includes like several $1 million for endowments for the arts, because, you know, even
did the last one
yes.
as well did. We reported on it. So even
you know, there's been a long sort of historical trend of artists relying on the wealthy basically for sponsorship. We now live in a society where that doesn't happen much anymore. You know, we've tried all of these economic theories of like trickle down and stuff like that, and we've discovered that rather than, you know, this highly concentrated sort of like fundage then coming down to people who are creators, it just doesn't happen. And it happens less and less. And then during things like a pandemic, you know, it shuts down almost entirely. So, you know, we're seeing the government now having to sort of, at least we're seeing that the government values the art enough to put at least a little bit of money in that, you know, in that direction to help keep people, you know, who are actors, who do plays and things like that from starving. But, you know, I think these are always the great struggles of being an artist. And it's something that I think that, you know, like I certainly went through a crisis when I was in my mid-20s of like, I'm a writer, but this is like not a valid career choice, basically. And like maybe if you're really lucky and you're like really good, you'll like land in that 1% of writers who actually make enough money to survive on. But more likely what's going to happen is I'm going to have to find ways of being creative about it. And so, yeah, I'm glad that they are like sort of having hybrid options. Like I said earlier, like I'm probably not yet at the point where I'm going to be doing live events. And even when I did do live events, very often they were like small scale, and they cost me almost nothing. And I was usually like splitting the cost of a table with somebody else. So I usually like at least broke even or better doing in-person stuff. My book sales have been way down this year, but I've also had my book out since 2018 and haven't gotten the next one out yet. So I'm in a little bit of a lull anyway. So yeah, I mean, ultimately, you know, it's good that we're seeing options open up. It always sucks when the higher costs like come back on the creators, because more often than not, they're the people who don't have the money. But also I can understand why organizers don't have the money now either. We need, I always, anytime I think you start talking about this, I start thinking about like the distribution of wealth in this country. And I think that that's a source of a lot of these kinds of problems, but that's a whole other conversation. I think that like as an artist, ultimately, like you have to sort of like look at the situation realistically. As an indie writer, especially, you know, I think that the biggest key is just you keep writing, you keep producing work, you make it the best that you possibly can. And the more work that you have out there, the more likely that you are, whether virtually or in person, connect with somebody, and then they're going to go back through your whole catalog. That's the goal. That's what you're trying to do. And it could be 15 or 20 years before you get to a point where you have a catalog big enough and good enough to make that happen. And so it's something that you get into if you're passionate about, not if you are expecting to make money in the next 2 or 3 years. And, you know, that's sort of simultaneously the reality of it. And also, you know, it's the encouraging thing. It's like, you can get there. People do get there to the point where their writing sustains like their life. but it's also a journey and a struggle. And I think that COVID-19 has sort of highlighted, and the sort of shifting sands of COVID-19 have sort of highlighted our need to be creative and flexible and constantly doing outreach and constantly making new things and trying out new platforms. And I love that Nikki is on TikTok. It's awesome and amazing.
I'm trying. After I get done here, I'm going to do a couple of more things I've scripted out because I've got the makeup on. And I figure just fucking use the makeup. Because I hate wearing makeup. I hate wearing makeup. But I want to talk about the money. When I was in college, our teacher, I took a creative writing course, as one does. And the teacher, the very first day of class, showed us how a garbage man makes more than an average writer does in a year. And we started with like 50 people in that class. By the end of that semester, we were down to 10. 10 of us hardcore idiots who just were not going to give it up. Because he kept telling us, this is how much money I've made as a published author. And yes, I have had movies done from my books, and this is how much money I've made from it. And we still did it. And then when I was in the Nashville Writers Group and I would do, my all the little groups and stuff that I ran, there was this one guy who was, I have to make a best-selling novel. I've got to make all the monies. And he was writing about cockroaches, to which I told him, good luck. But writing a book doesn't mean they're going to break down, the walls to get to you. You've got to write 15, 20, you have to write 1,000 books and never get anything. You just keep throwing the stuff out, keep hoping to make a ripple because you never know. My friend Alan Lewis at the Southern Festival of Books, one of his books, one Saturday a guy came, bought one of his books. That Sunday he came in and said, hey, you're the author of this book, right? And he's like, yeah. He goes, he actually worked for HBO and he was looking for script ideas. He was looking for books and they really liked it. And he left there with a contract for $10,000. That was just something that happened. It's never happened again, but it was just great. He sold that book for just an option. They were just looking into it, but they gave him $10,000 just for the rights to have it as an option.
Yeah.
Nice.
How does that? It's never happened to me. Okay, that's never happened to me. But it's something that I often think about because you don't know. Maybe it will, but as a writer, don't think that you're going to make a lot of money at this. And when people learn, like when my day job people find out that I'm a writer, because I don't advertise it, when they find out, they always think that I make money from it. Why are you here then? I'm here because this pays my bills. This gives me insurance. I make, what was my last Amazon? My last Amazon things was like $4. I could have bought a fucking Starbucks with that. What are you talking about? I'm not making any money, but I do it because it's what I do. If I didn't do it, I would be miserable. So you do this as a passion, or trust me, just don't. I've told people that if you don't have the passion for this, if you don't mind the fact that you probably never make any money, and also it doesn't do with being good. It's just luck. I know people who are brilliant, and they just haven't had the luck to get their book put in front of the right eyes, or they're so super uber shy. They're not good at putting on the face and doing the show that their book just gets lost. And it makes me so sad because I'm the one at the booth. Well, I'll grab their book and I'll start pushing their book because they're brilliant. But this is a stupid way of life, but it's what makes me happy.
Audience interaction does not need to be limited to in person. I mean, again, speaking as a filmmaker, people are finding my movie, on Prime or whatever, and then engaging with me after the fact. But by that same token, there's a Facebook group right now that I am shouting out. Hello, Found Footage Movie Group.
Ooh,
I've been doing an AMA over there and Ask Me Anything. I'm the director of Butterfly Kisses. Ask me anything about the movie you want to ask about. And, it's got 750 comments or something on there. It's really cool. I get to, I'm talking to people about the film simply by going to where the audience congregates. And as we were all sitting here and talking, somebody, I got a notification, and a gentleman by the name of Ethan Friel, hey, Ethan Friel, asked me, among other things, is it the filmmaker's duty to relentlessly market a film? And it absolutely is. You have to be creative in creating whatever that thing is, whatever that story is, whatever that product is. But then you also have to dig into that same level of creativity and find ways to get it out there. I mean, he's in a lot of ways answering the question for me. It is my job to relentlessly market the film and to find ways to do that. I'm being asked this question in an AMA, in a Facebook, forum about found footage that I stumbled upon. So, we have to find ways in order to get our brand out there and to successfully engage in people. We owe that to the time that we spent on the work. We also owe that if it is a collaborative medium, such as film or music or anything like that, and or if you're an author, whoever worked on the cover art for you or did the editing, you owe people that product and that quality of product, and you owe them to ensure that their work is appreciated, not simply in terms of dollars and cents, but leading to further opportunities and awareness of their talent and craft as well.
Always pushing who does my layouts, who does my book covers, always, because I'm always in awe of that.
How about you, AJ? Your thoughts on this?
Well, I do like my own covers for the most part, except for the stuff that's published by the Red Askew. And my mom does my editing for me, or I sometimes self-edit if she's too busy. Or I'll trade off with someone else, edit their book, and they'll edit mine. But for the most part, it's like I'm doing my own covers, I'm doing my own formatting. My mom does my editing, and then so I don't have a lot of people to pimp. But you do have to pimp. You have to kind of get out there and, go to the groups, find the Facebook groups, find the Twitter hashtags that you need, find everything, that you can push and get it out there and get it seen. The more you get it seen. I was recently, an author friend of mine, Britt Andrews, who has exploded onto the scene. She her first book was published last fall, and she's already quit her day job and writing full time.
Okay.
Amazing.
Good for her.
Yeah, it's amazing.
I'm not jealous at all.
She's right. No, but she's allowing other authors to do takeovers every Friday on her Facebook group. I actually sold 6 books, 4 books and 4 ebooks and 2 pre-orders for the follow-up books.
Nice.
In
awesome.
one night, because someone saw me do the takeover in her group, and all of a sudden I had all these extra sales on KDP because someone saw the takeover and they're like, "Oh, this sounds interesting." So she's affording other authors that opportunity because she's got 1,600 people in her group, her Facebook group. And so you got to look for that. Look for other authors who are maybe doing a little better than you, who are giving that opportunity, or other filmmakers who are giving the opportunity. Networking is definitely a thing you got to do, and getting out there and finding every avenue you can. You might get a little annoying to some people who are in the same avenues that you are. People who see you in 5 different groups at once. You're like, okay, I'm done with this post. But it gets you seen. You got to get out there and get yourself seen, or else it's all for pretty much nothing.
Right.
All right. Well, what's not for nothing, and something you can do to help yourself if you're an indie author, is take part in the Indie Connection. And CL Cannon has a unique opportunity. She'll tell you about it at the end of this. But she is looking for people to connect to. If you feel like your book is comparable to something else, let her know, and she'll put it together and put an Indie Connection together, just like she did with this one. And we'll be right back right after that.
Hey guys, CL Cannon here from Fiction Atlas Press, bringing you another Indie Connection. Today I'm going to be telling you about some indie books that you might enjoy if you're a fan of J. Kristoph's Nevernight series. The first book I have for you is called Smoke and Stone by Michael R. Fletcher. After a cataclysmic war of the gods, the last of humanity huddles in Bastion, a colossal ringed city. Beyond the outermost walls lies endless desert, haunted by the souls of all the world's dead. Trapped in a rigid caste system, Noru, a young street sorcerer, lives in the outer ring. She dreams of escape and freedom. When something contacts her from beyond the wall, She risks everything and leaps at the opportunity. Mother Death, a banished god seeking to reclaim her place in Bastion's patchwork pantheon, has found her way back into the city. Akachi, born to the wealth and splendor of Bastion's inner rings, is a priest of Cloud Serpent, Lord of the Hunt. A temple-trained sorcerer, he is tasked with bringing peace to the troublesome outer ring. Drawn into a dark and violent world of assassins, gangs, and street sorcerers, he battles the spreading influence of Mother Death in a desperate attempt to save Bastion. The gods are once again at war. The second book I have for you is called Soul of the Crow by Jessica Willis. When the mortals want someone dead, they contract a Reaper of Eltor, an assassin born from the Underrealm with fatal magic coursing through their veins. Sinista is one of them. For 3 years she served the Underrealm and slain her targets with the aid of her crow familiar. She only needs one more kill to ascend as a Shade, a coveted status of power. So when the king of Oakfall requests a Reaper to execute his daughter for an unforgivable crime, Sinista is first to volunteer for the job. It should be easy. But when the prince discovers his sister is in danger, he flees the palace with her, leaving Sinista with only 2 options. Journey through the mortal realm to find and slay her mark, or face the consequences of returning to the Underrealm empty-handed. It's no choice at all. She has come too far and is too close to earning her title to let it be taken from her now. Besides, no one can outrun a Reaper of Eltor. Or can they? The third book I have for you is called Along the Razor's Edge by Rob J. Hayes. An empire in flames, a prisoner of war, an unbreakable will to escape. At just 15, Iskara Helsine was forced to fight in the greatest war mankind has ever known. She lost. There's only one place her enemies would send a sorcerer as wild and dangerous as her, the pit. A prison sunk so deep into the earth the sun is a distant memory. Betrayed by her best friend, Eska finds herself stripped of her magic, surrounded by thieves and murderers, and there are far worse things that call the deep darkness their home. In order to survive, she will need to make new allies, play the inmates against each other, and survive the darkness long enough to find a way out. Her enemies will soon learn Eskra is not so easily broken. And the last book I have for you is called Of Shadow and Sea by Will White. The Consultants Guild has served the Aurelian Empire for over 1,000 years, working in the darkness to hunt dissension and eliminate traitors. Now the Emperor is dead. For Shera, an assassin in the employ of the Consultants, the Emperor's death is the beginning of a nightmare. Powerful forces hunt the heart of Nkothi, a cursed artifact that can raise a second Emperor, and corrupt him in the process. But some desire power at any cost. The Guild of Navigators, an infamous collection of swindlers and pirates, has been paid a fortune to secure the heart. Their only lord is greed, their only loyalty to gold, and they would sell the Empire's freedom for the promise of a quick coin. In the shadows, a woman works to set the world free. On the seas, a man seeks to raise a lunatic to lord over mankind. Will you walk the shadows here with Shera, or will you explore the seas with Calder in the parallel novel of Sea and Shadow? Okay, that's all for me this week. I'll see you next week on The Indie Connection. Bye.
Yeah, another great indie connection. Thank you to CL Cannon for doing that so much for us. I want to mention that the links to all the books are in the description, as is everybody here who's participated today. And the link to the review book, Mother's Love, is also there. And if you wanted to be part of the Indie Connection, I've also included the sign-up link that CL Cannon has put out for everybody to do. I thought we'd go through some comments before we took off here real quickly. And Rebekah says, by the way, she did not live in the Hollers, but she did visit them. And she says, well, we already did that one. The tragedy is real. Sigh. Don't have to drink. I don't understand. Isn't that why you go?
Yeah.
Maybe I might be doing cons wrong. Yes, I think you might be. You might be that person on Friday night that gets really, really sloppy, and then the rest of the weekend you're paying for it,
Right.
and then you miss the rest of the con. That's you gotta modify a little bit. I think dragon is a different animal. Yep, it is. Show up and make your own niche. That's a great point. I love that. I think that is something we'll talk about right now in just a second. A nice flow on the rant, Mr. Erik. And he said it again, another one. And I think it's had an unfortunate amount of practice with it. And was his name Kafka? I think that was referring to the book you were talking about, Nikki, I think. I'm not sure. But that's the comments. Thank you so much for... don't get sloppy. All right. Fair enough. No comment on that. But regardless, thank you everybody for being a part of the show. We really do appreciate that tremendously. And as I do really appreciate the people here tremendously, and I'll give them an opportunity to let you know where you can find them, even though we have it already listed. But that's great. I want them to say it because that's important too. And as I'm learning, people don't really go to the links as often as I would like them to, but that's all right. I'll keep putting them out there because that's important.
Not the hooks, yeah.
The one thing about that article that I really appreciated was this, in this comment, in the vein of this comment, which is show up and make your own niche. And it seems like we don't do that as often as we should in the indie community. Where Erik is on a Facebook group where he's being, he's getting interaction and connection, and that's those are the kind of things that we're talking about. And we all have our own little Facebook groups, and we're attached to Facebook groups together and things like that. But is there more in person that we could be doing and creating a niche? Do you think that this could be a regional thing that could help benefit us in the long run and keep, I'm sure we all have our little tribes regionally, but, is that something that you guys have discussed and thought about in terms of getting the momentum back for in-person and trying to get it going again?
I think we all need to pitch the idea to our respective networks of conventions and showrunners and stuff like that. The idea of, adding a swimsuit competition to the events where the artists get up and, walk the stage. And I mean, that's going to promote a hell of a lot of interest.
So many writers have the swimsuit body. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm going to clear the room the second I walk out. Everyone's just going to run screaming. And that's just, no.
Look, I have learned to embrace the dad bod. I'm okay. I lost my hair. I'm okay with that.
I'll give you
I'm
some
willing
extra
to put on a Speedo if it means adding value to my personal appearance.
We can do a calendar, writers I'd like to F. We can put them like really cool little things. Oh, that'd be awesome. We could sell million of those. The Wilf calendar.
Wilf calendar. We need to work. Message me. We'll work on that.
Exactly. And then we have the horror person of the group gets the October picture. You
got the skull
there
right
you
there.
go.
How you doing?
You just sort of break it out and you make it themed.
Yes.
I think one of the great advantages, and this is the reason why you go indie, and this is the reason why you become an indie author, is having that ability to create the work that you want to create.
Yeah.
Because I know that certainly, I write some weird, genre bending stuff that, the publishing industry does not want because they think you can't do superpowers in a book or whatever. And it's a hard sell to, to have the specific themes that I tend to have in my books. And that is sort of the point of being indie is creating that sort of niche for yourself. And the stuff that Erik is talking about is kind of one. It is good for writers to hang out with filmmakers. I highly recommend it, because if you want to really learn how to put yourself out there fearlessly, these are the people to talk to because they do it every day. And Erik is an example of that. He goes, you know, on Facebook groups and, you know, I'm a lurker. I don't do that kind of stuff. And he's like, ask me anything, you know, and he goes in there and he posts memes and sometimes he gets kicked out for like violating group rules and stuff. But you know what? Then he goes out and he finds another group and he does it until like he gets traction somewhere with the people who want to hear what he has to say. And I think that ability to put yourself out there and to have it potentially fail and to do it boldly and fearlessly and in your voice is something that like filmmakers are really good at. And I think that we, especially indie authors, can really learn from, you know, finding those spaces that want us and, you know, and also just going out and finding them because I think that they're really good at that. And also coming up with swimsuit competitions that apparently everybody wants to do now.
Everyone wants to do this now.
I'm totally up for Wolf Calendar. I'm like now the ideas in my head.
Wolf 2022.
Hanging out with filmmakers is a great idea, but nobody hang out with those dirty musicians. Screw them. Just kidding to all my musician friends out there who now I've just lost 5% of my audience. Thanks. But that's my own bad mouth. But no, I appreciate music. No, I think that's one of the cool things. This kind of why I started this whole thing was to have all my friends in one place interacting because I think it is such a valuable thing. You know, I mean, you can learn from any kind of artistry and the disciplines are different and things are, you know, you just kind of get things and you can apply that to what you do. It's pretty amazing. And so I do appreciate that aspect of it. So it's pretty nice. That being said, I think we've exhausted our topic today. I really appreciate everybody hanging out for a little bit longer than we normally do. Well, actually, this is about right.
Can I just interject one thing?
Sure, absolutely.
And I've been wanting to say this for like the past couple episodes that I've been on. I do not know what the CL in CL canon stands for, but I've watched, you know, a number of her indie connection, you know, spotlights and whatnot. And because I suffer from pareidolia of the initials, I have to find meaning in initials. And therefore, every time I see CL Cannon doing one of her indie connection spotlights, my brain immediately interprets that as Car Lady Cannon.
Car Lady.
It actually is her name.
Okay.
It's Courtney. Courtney. I do not know what the L stands for. I've never asked her that question. But Courtney is what the C stands for. It's her first name.
She will forever be Car Lady Cannon to me because I've tried to define reason for the fact that she's always in a car. And all I can think is if I were born, like say my parents said, well, we named you, you know, Car Lady. That's just the name that we decided to give you. It was your grandfather's name, you know, when he got off the boat, whatever. I was Car Lady Cannon, then I would be like, hey, it'd be kind of funny if I like, you know, film myself sitting in a car because my name is Car Lady and I am a car lady.
You know, it's funny because she's been doing them in her house lately and she's been getting like people in the comments have been really like, why is she in her car? It's weird. It's freaking me out.
She's Car Lady.
But she got quite the chuckle out of. She was here last weekend doing the show, but yeah, it's yeah, see, now you got Rebekah on it. Now I have to go. Thanks.
Car Lady, when you see this, please understand that I'm speaking from a genuinely good place. And you may come up with whatever you want from the, where is it? It's on this, there. My initials, you can come up with enormous Kraken monster or, you know, whatever works for you. Please feel free. But
you can expect her to do that.
It's an affectionate sort of thing.
Nice. Well, Erik, why don't you start us off? Tell everybody where they can find you.
I'm sure that most people want to get away from me now. I am Erik Christopher Myers. You can check out my movies, Butterfly Kisses and Roulette. They're streaming on Prime. Like I said, I've been in some books. Check out my essays on film criticism for Ain't It Cool News. I write about a lot of franchise films or lumping the entire horror genre, 31 Days of Halloween, things like that. Come check it out. And make sure, please, that you are liking, subscribing, sharing, using Facebook for this show that you're getting free content for. But also, if you check out any of the works of any of the people on this panel or any other panels from other episodes or any other nerd groups that you happen to frequent, remember, likes, shares, reviews, things like that. That's what helps pushes our work out there. So help us to continue to bring you awesome content. Because as Nikki said, we're not making money doing this.
No, we are not making money.
But we're making friends. We're making
By the way,
friends.
Rebecca's already started for you. There you go. Excessive kaleidoscope movement, extra karma missions. So she's on it. All right, Megan.
I am Megan Morgan. I'm the author of The Altered Wake and the upcoming novel, The Altered Rise, which should be out later this fall. As long as I don't decide to change the title, which seems likely. And you can find me on Facebook at Megan Morgan. I am M Writes on Instagram, and then M3 Writes on Twitter because I like to be confusing. Come check me out. I talk about what I had for breakfast usually.
Is the reason why you're different on different platforms? Is the reason why I'm different on Twitter is because some asshole took Cody now and wants $50,000 for it?
Yes, essentially. Yeah. I'm different names on different. Megan Morgan is a very common name, and so I really have to fight for screen names in places.
Yeah. One day you're going to come on here, and I'm going to be shocked when you say, the author of The Altered Wake and The Altered Rise, which is out now. And I'm going to be like, yes, finally. Yeah.
I know. It's been since 2018. It's coming. We're getting there. It's coming closer.
No pressure. I'm just saying. Just going to be a happy day. All right, AJ.
I'm AJ Mulliken, author of Abnormal, with the upcoming sequel Escaping the Light, which has also been pending since 2018. It's coming out on the 30th, along with a novella in the Abnormal verse, Witching Hour, The Stroke of Three, which I'm releasing myself. I have a book coming out next week, Hell's Rejects, which is the second in the Hell on Earth trilogy I've been writing. You can find me at ajmulliken.com, facebook.com/AJ Mulliken author, Twitter, AJ Mulliken, Instagram, AJ Mulliken, TikTok, rarely, AJ Mulliken. Search Amazon, AJ Mulliken. You can find my books. All those places you can find me. Just type that in, and you can get me there and find all the stuff.
And AJ did a panel where she hosted the panel at LitCon last weekend. So everybody go check that out on their YouTube channel. It's pretty awesome.
Oh, cool.
I was real excited to hear that. That's
yeah, it was fun.
Nikki, how about for you?
Okay, I'm Nikki Nelson Hicks. My latest out is Stone Baby and Other Strange Tales. It's available on Amazon. All of my stuff is available on Amazon in Kindle and paperback. Just look me up, Nikki Nelson Hicks. I'm on Facebook, Nikki Nelson Hicks, and Twitter and Instagram as Nick Cubed, NIKCUBED. I'm also on TikTok. Again, I've just started. I'm such a noob. I know what the hell I'm doing. Nikki Nelson Hicks. And I will be having my website is going to be live hopefully by this Wednesday, nnhbooks.com. So you can find all my stuff there, and that's where I'm at.
Nice. Is it fair to say at this point the podcast is dead?
No, podcast is not dead. I've decided to take it over. And I was talking with actually two people last night who want to come and do with me. So nice. I'm actually working on a podcast dealing with Lavinia Fisher. Are you familiar with that? Uh-huh. That Lavinia, there's the legend, and then there's the truth. Nice. And it is fascinating. It's going to be called They Done Her Wrong. It's going to be basically a podcast on women in history who have been fucked over. And Lavinia Fisher is basically the patron saint of being effed over. This woman, if there's ever a woman who needs to be a wraith and come and kill everyone in South Carolina, it's Lavinia Fisher. So I can't wait to do a rant on this poor woman. So that's what's coming up next. I've just decided
that sounds like my jam.
Oh, I'll quit. I'm tired of waiting for my husband. I'm done with you. So I'm going to go with myself and just do it myself. Go up to my little closet and just do it myself. But yes, I've been researching her alongside as all the Appalachian stuff because I found her through another podcast. I bought the book. this book. It's all about the truth of Lavinia Fisher.
Nice.
Oh my gosh. Anyway, yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, it will happen. Again, I want to get at least 10 in the can before I actually release it, because I like to have stuff.
Yeah, that's cool. Awesome. I'm glad to hear that. By the way, Rebekah hasn't stopped since I showed those two. She's on fire. There's like 17 of them. I'm not gonna play them all because we'll be here all day. But go check those out, Erik. She's gotten, there's at least 10 of them here for your name, for your initials. So enjoy that. And everybody, enjoy the rest of your day. I'm Joe Compton. This is Go Indie Now. Obviously, you're here, so you know where to find us. We are everywhere. We're also on TikTok at Go Indie Now. We're on Instagram, Go Indie Now. And like I said, Twitter, unfortunately, we're not Go Indie Now, but Joe Dream 73, that's me. And then Facebook, Go Indie Now. And again, I will reiterate, I said this on Friday night, but I will reiterate, I'm enjoying being back on Goodreads. I can't believe it. I do not know why, but it has been really great. And so I'm back on Goodreads as well. Go Indie Now is not there, but we have some stuff up there anyway. But anyway, that being said, join us. You'll get to see AJ Mulliken again tomorrow, because she is our next episode of Coffee Break, which is tomorrow. We'll drop that tomorrow, and continue on with our programming all week long. Erik Myers is coming up very soon. I have his Crossroads episode almost ready to go, and we're going to put that out there very soon. So look out for all of that, and you'll see all these wonderful folks again real soon, I'm sure. Because it's always time to go indie now. Yep. And with that, we say goodbye. Have a nice rest of your Sunday, and we'll see you again